Heaven and earth are impartial, they see the 10,000 things as straw dogs, the wise are impartial, they see the people as straw dogs. The space between heaven and earth is like a bellows, the shape changes but not the form, the more it moves, the more it yields. More words count less. Hold fast to the center.
This verse first encourages us to free ourselves from the illusion of matter. The 10,000 things refer to the world of matter, the manifest part, what can be seen, touched, heard, and felt. It includes everything that makes up the world around us, including emotions and thoughts. Laozi tells us that all of this is like straw dogs. A straw dog was an object used in ancient Chinese ceremonies as a substitute for a real dog sacrifice. It represents something destined to be destroyed, symbolizing the impermanence of things in the material world. Everything within the 10,000 things will eventually be destroyed and transformed. This is the first step, to perceive that the world around us, even though it appears fixed, is not. Everything will eventually undergo transformation. In 80 to 90 years, nearly all of humanity currently on Earth will be replaced by another generation. Going further, it's about recognizing that matter is not only impermanent but also a manifestation. Laozi uses the example of a bellows, stating between heaven and earth. The air expelled by the bellows represents matter. We see that the air generated by the bellows has no inherent existence. It's a momentary movement of the air present in the atmosphere that will dissipate. Human existence is similar, being a movement of molecules on Earth that will also eventually dissipate. But if the bellows is between heaven and earth, and the expelled air represents what is on Earth, what then is in heaven? It's the force that activated the bellows, the only thing that is real and immortal, what Lao Tzu calls the center.
After dispelling the illusion about matter, we can access what is beyond, or rather at the center. If matter is the manifestation, the center is the source of this manifestation. Although invisible to the eyes, it is the only thing that is real. It is the force that animates form but is not the form itself. Once we have perceived the center within ourselves, we can also perceive it externally. Everything that makes up the world has an external, manifested form, but also an original vibration. This is the essence of things. The sage learns to distinguish the essence behind the form. Words are also a manifestation. Simply trying to understand them is like trying to understand humans by studying their biology. The sage seeks to transcend the biological aspect of humanity, searching for its essence, its true nature. The same applies to words. Intellectual understanding is just a step. By seeking the essence behind the word, one can truly access the teaching. That's why the sage speaks less. This prevents the listener from seeking intellectual understanding. Instead, they are compelled to adopt an attitude of feeling. For example, one can study photosynthesis, understand the process of converting light into oxygen by trees. But if you stand in front of a tree and begin to feel the process, feel that the air you breathe is partly created by the tree in front of you. Visualizing this transformation of light into oxygen and feeling it within yourself, the experience completely changes, and you touch the essence behind the words. This doesn't mean that words and understanding are useless. In the case of photosynthesis, understanding helps you feel it more deeply.
There is a passage in the text that may be shocking and has intentionally been translated more gently. In English, the translation is, "The sages are impartial." The actual Chinese phrase is,
圣人不仁,
which translates to, "The sages are not benevolent." This is obviously quite shocking, but there must be a reason for this phrase. In reality, it can be understood at two levels. The first level of understanding is that the sage does not seek to be good, their intention is not to be good. They seek to act from the center, which will, in fact, result in acting with kindness and benevolence, but that is not their intention, it is the consequence. They do not seek to obey an external moral code but to act in accordance with their true nature. This does not mean that we should not strive to be good. We are not all accomplished sages, so initially, we may act with the intention of doing what is good. However, it is important to remember that the goal is not to adhere to a code but to be in harmony with one's true nature, which is pure goodness. To try to illustrate this concept, we can take the example of nutrition. The ultimate goal is to learn to listen to one's body and eat what the body craves and needs. However, it's possible that when one has already achieved a proper diet. Before achieving a proper diet, the body is so out of balance that we cannot rely on its cravings. The second level of understanding is related to impartiality. The sage treats everyone the same way, just as the sun shines equally on a good person and a bad person. The sage does not act with the intention of being good, they express their true nature, which is goodness. Just as the sun expresses its luminous nature, not holding back or choosing whom to shine upon. In contrast, someone who acts with the intention of being kind may be tempted to withhold kindness when faced with someone who does not deserve it. The sage acts by expressing what they are, the question does not arise. The verse begins by telling us that the goal is to achieve impartiality, and the rest of the verse explains how to do so. First, free yourself from the illusion of matter, then find and remain in the center, the only real and immortal thing, and finally express it without limit or condition.